So is motivation watching the most inspirational video ever?
Just do it!
Or is motivation watching your favorite scene from a movie?
Men of the West!
Or is motivation listening to the sickest beats ever?
But here's my number, so call me maybe.
Well, it can be, but more than that, I think all of these things sort of symbolize the feeling that gets confused with motivation, and the feeling that I'm talking about is excitement. Now, I have a bachelor's degree in exercise science, which, as you can imagine, means that a lot of people talk to me about exercise and things related to exercise. And the most common thing that people talk to me about is that they can't motivate themselves to go work out. And it seems that people are waiting for something that they would call motivation to work out, when in fact they're actually waiting for the excitement to work out. And the difference between excitement and motivation is that excitement is a feeling and motivation is sort of reasons to do something. And you can imagine this like if you were to motivate someone, you'd give them reasons why they should do something. So you can be motivated about something that you're not excited about, but you can't be excited about something that you're not motivated about. For instance, you can be really excited about a movie that's coming out and you're really excited about watching this, but that also means that you're motivated to go somewhere and actually like watch the movie, either to go to the cinema or to turn the TV on and watch the movie. And that may seem like a really strange concept, like, oh, I don't need motivation to turn my TV on. But the truth is that you do need motivation to turn your TV on, because anything that you do, any action that you take, you need motivation in order to take that action. So if you're going to stand up, you need motivation. If you're going to eat, you need motivation. And if you're going to go work out, you need motivation for that as well. So eating, for example, if you don't eat, you're going to be uncomfortable, and then at some point you're going to die. So that's sort of the reasons why you're going to eat. And those are some pretty motivating reasons, in my opinion. And it's the same for watching that movie that you're excited about. It's like, well, why should I turn the TV on? Because I want to watch this movie. So being excited really just fuels your why, which means that if you have a strong enough why, then you don't really need the excitement because you're going to do it anyway. And a good example of this would be drinking water, which I'm guessing that most of you do. And again, this is one of those things where if you don't, it would be uncomfortable and then at some point you'd die. So again, I'd say that's pretty motivating. But are you always excited about drinking water? And I'm guessing that you're not always excited about drinking water, but you still do it. And a lot of people look at motivation for working out as a state or feeling which would be similar to the excitement of wanting to watch that movie. And they think that that's how it's going to feel when they're going to go work out. When I think more people should look at it more like the motivation that you have for drinking water. Where it's like, on some days, like a really hot day for instance, you might be really excited about drinking water, but most of the time you're just going to do it, either because you know you have to, or because of just simple habit. Like for instance, when you're eating dinner, you'll probably drink a glass of water, and that's just kind of habit. So if you imagine yourself not having a glass of water with your food, that might seem strange. For me, that seems like, or that would feel really odd if I didn't have a glass of water with my food. So if you're waiting for the day to come when you're going to be excited about every workout and every training session, and if that is what it takes for you to go to the gym, then you're probably going down a pretty dead-end road, because I've been myself working out for like 10 plus years and going 5 to 7 times a week, sometimes more, sometimes less. And it's only a handful of times that I've actually been super excited about the workout that I'm about to do. People need to stop stressing the feelings of what they're about to do and start trying to think of it more like drinking water. It's something that you do, and if you have a strong enough reason why you're going to do it, then that'll help you to move towards actually doing it. So what's my advice for someone who wants to increase their motivation? The first thing would be to think of why, like get a really good reason why you're doing it. And if you can come up with several reasons, that would be really good too, because the more reasons that you have, the easier it's going to be to motivate you to actually do something. The second thing would be to set a goal. And when I say set a goal, I mean set a specific goal and not a vague goal. And that's something that a lot of people do too, is they set goals that aren't really very specific, which means that you don't really know when you're done with it. For instance, could be like, oh, I want to squat a heavy weight versus I want to squat 100 kilos. The one with the heavy weight goal would kind of have trouble knowing when they're actually done, because a heavy weight is very subjective, and it could be 100 kilos or it could be 50 kilos. But the person with the specific goal of 100 kilos, they will know exactly when they're done with their goal. If they've done a squat that is 98.5 kilos, they know that, okay, I haven't done 100 kilos, so they know they're not done with their goal. So it'll be easier to see where you're actually going to go. That's the second advice. The third advice would be to break down your goal into smaller ones, which are easier to achieve. So for instance, the person that has the 100 kilo squat goal, they can break it up into like, okay, first of all, I need to be able to squat the bar. Once I can do that, I need to be able to squat 40 kilos, 50 kilos, 60 kilos, etc. until you get to 100 kilos. So that would kind of give you smaller goals that you can reach along the way, which will help motivate you along the way as well, because you'll get the satisfaction of reaching those smaller goals. And once you've reached all of those small goals, you'll end up at the big goal. So that's the third advice, which is really important, and I think it's more important than the second advice, which is the goal. And the fourth advice would be to not focus too much on the specifics. So like, for instance, how many grams of carbs should you eat? Should you eat carbs? How many grams of protein? When should you eat protein? Should you eat fat? You can get really specific with things, but like I said before, I have a bachelor's degree in exercise science, and the more I learn about this subject and the more fancy subjects I study, like physiology, biomechanics, sports psychology, etc., the more I learn, I realize that it's actually quite simple. And most people have the tools to actually make a huge difference for themselves. And there's a quote by Kai Green, who is a world-class bodybuilder, who said once that
a lot of times the difference between the person that you see on stage, you know, reaching for their dream in front of the audience and sort of making their thing happen, the difference between that person and the person that's in the audience a lot of times wishing they could and maybe just living vicariously through the person on stage is a lot of times not knowledge. A lot of times it's not genetics. A lot of times it's not any of the things that we, you know, would sooner want to give credit to. The biggest difference, I think, that sits between those two examples of individuals is really the application of what you know.
I really like what he said there, because sometimes it's not about what you know, it's more about how you apply what you know and actually trying to apply what you know, because so many people get stuck in like, if I had this or if I had that, then I would be able to do it. So just apply what you know. That's the fourth part. The fifth one is a quote from Matthew McConaughey, and I think there was an interview, I think I read this, where they asked him about it because he works out sometimes, and they asked him, how do you keep in shape? And he said, just tie your shoes. And I really like this, even though it sounds like a cliche or like a gimmick, and it's not the secret for being motivated every day and having all the motivation in the world and going to the gym and getting in shape. It's not a secret by any means. It's just something that I really liked because that's the first step. That kind of goes back to the third point of breaking up the major goal into smaller ones, which if you look at going to the gym as the major goal, then you break it up into smaller parts, and the first part might be to tie your shoes. And once you've done that, you can move on to the next part, and then all of a sudden you're at the gym. Now, mind you, this is not a bulletproof strategy by any means. I have done this. I've gone out and like tied my shoes and then decided like, oh, I can't be bothered, and then I've untied my shoes and gone back to the couch and watched TV. But at least if you do tie your shoes, you're going to be less likely to untie them again and go back to the couch. So that's my 5 advices for increasing your motivation and kind of structuring how are you gonna get motivated to go work out and do whatever it is you want to do. So if you liked this video and found something useful in it, I'd really appreciate it if you shared the video in some way, or if you just liked the video, I'd appreciate that too. And I think I might do some more videos like this if anyone likes it, where I will pick a subject related to exercise science and I will kind of share my thoughts on it. And yeah, I think I'm going to do that. So that's it for today, and we'll see you in the next one.